This video will analyse the truth behind this meme. How accurate is it? Having analysed all the dynasties of China in summary videos, analysed the Confucian and Legalist canons, the lives of their respective founders, Confucius and Shang Yang, I'm in a good position to comment on its validity. It's going to get the very serious treatment it deserves. The meme depicts on the left a weak Confucian lying down in the middle of some kind of worm dance, for he is portrayed as weak from writing poetry all day. This probably comes from the fact that Confucius compiled annals of Zhou poetry known as the Odes. He probably did write poetry, but this isn't what he's known for. As mentioned in a previous video, mocking him in comparison to Mozi, Confucius himself did far more than the weak passive man he's been made out as here. He actually tried to reinstate monarchic rule over those who hid behind the curtains in the state of Liu, his home state. Confucius was a radically perennialist reformer who looked back on the culture heroes of China's semi-mythical origins with awe. He came close to succeeding in doing this, although in his later life his main focus became describing and defining what it is to be good. This is compared to the active alpha male legalist on the right, and I quote, conscripts millions of people. The word choice here is inappropriate because the ideal of a legalist state that Shang Yang reformed Qin into being was that rewards and punishment would turn people's self-interest towards soldiering and farming for the good of the state. For example, by rewarding those successful in war with rank and position, or those over-delivering on farming quotas the same. The very fact that Qin could mobilize so many people led to the monumentalism of the terracotta warriors unseen previously in Chinese history. And again, executed, you are all executed. There is a sense of madness here. The subsequent dynasty to the Qin, the Han, after the Chu-Han contention, were keen to emphasise, with historians recording such things. Without doubt, the Qin were strict in their application of punishment. At the same time, if the state wasn't prosperous, it would have been overthrown by its people, by its own people, hundreds of years before, when the reforms were first applied in around 300 BC. No doubt, they emphasised tough punishments, only in order to prevent crimes altogether, and therefore no need for punishments anyway if no one was committing crime. That's the idea, at least. And here he is holding a shovel. Strong arms for farming. This is true. The Qin state encouraged farming or soldiering, sidelining merchantry or any other ways to money. They are said to be burying scholars. Now, the legalists were largely not responsible for this. This is mostly Han propaganda. Much of the so-called burning of the books was caused by a vengeful Xiang Yu sacking the capital city of Shenyang. And on the left we have Confucius depicted as stuck in the past. This is unfair. I mean, what else is learning from history but seemingly being stuck in the past? Confucius modelled himself on a golden age in China, that is the Zhou, and spoke of them as his ideal paragons of virtue repeatedly through the Analects. Confucius was very wise to his times and could see the issues and made a gallant attempt at reforming the country he loved. The Qin are said to have invented China. This is a debatable point. The Qin cemented the southern river, the Yangtze River, the Changjiang, and Yellow Rivers as being of one people, one empire. It wasn't until the Qin that this happened. In the long run, this was a lifesaver for Chinese civilization. The Yellow River was, whilst fertile, an awful river with high levels of sediment, and huge changes in the river's course racked the Yellow River basin on many occasions over the millennia, with huge changes in the river's course. The stable and highly fertile southern river became refuge to many illiterati fleeing from the northern nomadic horsemen takeovers. From the Qin onwards, this geographic region over the arch of history came together only to fall apart in degenerative periods, only to come together again under leaders like Zhu Yanjiang in the Ming and Li Shimin during the Tang. Powerful alpha male there is also said to not need musical poems. This refers to the name that the Qin dynasty had for being rustic westerners. The Qin were from the rugged west, outside of the eastern literati states where the great Confucian academies were. It's significant, though, that all the reformers like Shang Yang, Han Fei and Li Se of the Qin dynasty who reformed the Qin dynasty in the West were actually men of elite eastern states, like the state of Wei and the state of Liu and Qi. Qin was seen as an irrelevant backwater by them, and the Qin became known for their emphasis on soldiering and farming, leaving little space for the arts. Interestingly, Shang Yang, the reformer of Qin, and Mozi both disliked luxuriating in music, but differed on many other views. unites all under heaven. Yes, this is true. Tian Sha was a phrase used by peoples behind the wall to refer to themselves in a time before the Silk Road. No other civilizations were known. To the west were nomads and the Himalayas, to the north Siberia and nomads and grassland, to the east was a mysterious sea, and to the south only jungle. Tian Sha is a word used in the film Hero to denote all of the peoples of all of the kingdoms behind the wall. And again, the accusation of literally banning the past, this is untrue. If it was, we wouldn't have written records of competing ideologies to legalism, like the canon of Confucianism or Moism. Though there were sequestering of books in capital libraries, these so-called book burnings happened after the Qin during the True Han Convention. Also, the Qin only lasted for around 15 years, and so even if they were attempting at silencing other ideologies, they couldn't have done it, regardless of whether this was their intention or not. Likes giant monuments. Yes, this is true. The terracotta warriors, for one. Once Tian Sha had come under the roof of the Qin, they turned their collective energies towards building monuments, and some might say this was a maladaptive practice. They disliked hereditary privilege. Yes, by and large this is true. However, one exception had to be made, that is for the ruling family of Ying. Although they could be punished, they maintained their positions via hereditary privilege. Confucius is shown to be a moral obscurationist here. Confucius dealt in stories and example. How else is one to describe a moral system but in giving example and stories? Legalism was explicitly amoral. It was purely about good governance. The two, in fact, complemented each other in the subsequent Han Dynasty from Hanwudi onwards. It might seem unclear how this circle was squared. A perfect example of this is in the imperial exam system, which was meritocratic, but would be largely upon the subject matter of Confucianism. Iron but fair hand. Yes, this seems to be true if the laws were applied even unto the ruling family, although the opposing states crushed by Qin would certainly disagree with this. Every leader secretly wants to be like him. There is probably some truth to this, although the dull caliber of managerial elites we have now would view such a leader with awe-inspired fear. Clear mind from drinking mercury, it says. This refers to the extremities that are told of the first emperor Qin Shi Huang by the Han historians who came after him, eager to paint the previous leaders as corrupt and themselves as decent. At the same time, they did acknowledge the necessity of the Qin in order for their own order. What the Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, had done was unprecedented. He had unified a two-river system, civilization for the first time in over 400 years, standardized the language, linked up the walls, and work had started on his tomb during his lifetime. Is it any wonder that he was different and stuck out like a sore thumb? The accusation that he took mercury, we cannot be sure of whether he actually believed the elixirs would help him. It's equally plausible that the eunuch Zhao Gao, who oversaw the usurpation of the rightful heir to Qin Shi Huang, in fact poisoned him. Depressed after all his books were burned. I've already covered this, it's not true. Feudalist, there's a debate as to whether feudalism is a negative thing at all. Medieval feudal Europe had a far superior lifestyle in many ways than the one we have now. More holiday, healthier diets. Also, of course, the irony is that Confucius would have been in favour of the Qin unification in principle, especially given the period of stability brought about under the subsequent Han. Had he been born, let's say, in the middle of the Three Kingdoms period, he would have looked back on the Qin and Han unifiers as his golden age. I'm tiring of these anti-Confucian memes. Confucianism spread during the Han Dynasty, as several Confucians influenced its founder Liu Bang in his governance style. His progeny Hanwudi instituted the first imperial entrance exams, cementing the link between Chinese imperial dynasties and Confucianism for the next 2,000 years. It seems that I will have to make a more accurate meme of Confucius. Therefore, I rate this meme 3 out of 5 for its biased representation of Confucius, although it did make me chuckle internally.